Okay. If everyone please rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tonight we're going to go through the budget and approve it and adopt our budget for the fiscal year of 2014-2015. Before we do so, are there any questions? We have we've had several meetings and gone over the budget several times, made the cuts needed. We're going to give the treasurer a few minutes to briefly explain any major changes, and then we will work the resolution.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, trustees. Just quickly, after looking at the numbers and so on, I did add $10,000 to the fund balance to defray the levy, a couple pennies. I'll give you the quick highlights and a couple of minor adjustments that we talked about in the last meeting should already be reflected. I reviewed everything yesterday, today. I think everything's pretty good. The total appropriations for the year are going to be $6,497,550. With that, your general fund is going to be $4,675,948. That's $4,670,000, almost $76,000. Your water fund is going to be $787,665, and your sewer fund is going to be $1,033,937. Again, your water and your sewer funds are fee-only funds, so all the proceeds as far as revenue, or most of the proceeds for revenue, come from your actual users in the village and outside of the village if they're in a special district. Your rate, and again, I want to just make sure it's understood, I mentioned this before, but I don't want there to be any confusion. The tax rate and the tax cap are two different things. I gave the board copies of the filings for the tax cap and the constitutional tax limit. We are under the cap by about $18,000. Now, for the board's purposes, that gives us additional $18,000 of breathing room for next year. So that if we need to go to the full event of the cap, we have that additional monies we can put on top. There are some other exclusions if it comes to that. We'll look at it next year, but you're under the cap nicely. And the constitutional tax limit, if I recall, I think the number is somewhere where about 34% of our allowed tax limit. So we have technically another 66% of allowable levy to stay under the tax limit, and we're considered not at risk at this point. Okay, our rate, because we're under the cap, I want to just clarify on our rate. Our total amount to be raised by taxes is just under $3 million. Our tax cap number was $3,008,000 and some change. Our total raised levy is going to be $2,989,948. I want to commend the board for staying under $3 million. I think that was a nice job there. Our total assessed valuation is $307,181,274. That gives us a total rate per thousand of $9.73 per thousand. Last year it was $8.88 per thousand. So it's an increase of 85 cents. Again, assessments went down 9%. So the relative equivalency, if your assessment went down 9%, your tax rate went up just over 1%. Okay? Just a quick comparison, the adopted budget for last year was for general fund was $4,325,374, and for this year it's $4,435,948, which comes out to an increase in your spending plan of $110,000. obviously that's why you're well under the cap. We did make a couple of the adjustments we talked about in the last meeting in relation to the reserve fund for the fire department, in relation to the celebrations issue, and with the potential scenario with the village attorney. So all those changes were made, and those numbers have been incorporated into the totals. In front of you then will be the resolution, and if there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. Otherwise,
Can you explain the rebate real quick, how that's also gonna offset?
okay, now, there is a little bit of question about the rebate for this year, because it looks like the state is lagging with when they're going to introduce that. It appears that the town in this year, when they do their budget in the fall, will be subject to the levy. It appears that we will not be subject to the levy until next year. They just sent out, because there's a lot of confusion going on about when the tax cap refund program is going to kick in. So I looked at some of the correspondence, and it appears because the village's tax schedule lags behind, which is why if you notice a lot of these adjustments to the tax rolls, the town did for this year's budget. So because we lag behind, the confusion was that villages, towns, schools, everybody was on the same timetable. Appears that that's not the case. So what will happen this year, again, and this is subject to change because this has everything to do with the state budget.
Right.
But it's, my best information right now is that the tax cap rebate will take effect for next year's budget, for the village,
Right.
not for the town.
Assemblyman Skoufis told the school board on Thursday night that was definitive, that schools in 2014, towns and villages in 2015.
Yeah, so what, and that's, there was a big, that's good that he brought that
Yeah.
up, because there's all kinds of correspondence out there back and forth as to who's eligible, who's not, because everybody's looking at everybody equal at the same date, and the time is
Right.
different. I will say that this was a very good preparation to be prepared for next year, and ultimately, your spending plan, I think, is strong, and you stayed within the bounds, and you do have some cushion for next year, because you didn't go all the way to the cap. So I think that's, maybe we'll call it practice. Ultimately, because you're under the cap, if the person's assessment went down 9, they are looking at maybe a 1.5% increase in their taxes. If their assessment went down more than 9, they could end up having a reduction. If it went over, then they would have an increase. But for the purpose of the village, you were under the cap. Okay.
The other thing, just to let the taxpayers know, this year, we did set aside a lot more money than usual in our reserve funds and in our contingency funds. That was important to the board, to make sure that we were planning more for the future, so that we weren't bonding out middle cost effects. Even if it's a couple $100,000, we're not looking to bond anything like that out. We want to make sure that the village is prepared to deal with those costs as they come. And that's, we set aside a healthy amount of funds for reserve and for contingency. If there's no more questions,
Okay.
thank you so much. Appreciate it. You did a fantastic job, Ed. Resolution for the adoption of the budget fiscal year 2014-2015. Be resolved that the annual budget for the Village of Highland Falls for the fiscal year of 2014-2015 be adopted as follows. General fund budget in the amount of $4,675,948. Water fund budget in the amount of $787,665. And the sewer fund budget in the amount of $1,033,937. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall take place immediately. The adoption of the foregoing resolution, I need a motion. I have a motion from trustee Farina to accept the adoption of the budget. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Murphy. All those in favor, roll call.
Trustee Farina?
Aye.
Trustee Brown?
Aye.
Trustee Murphy?
Aye.
Mayor Flynn?
Aye. Carries. And that is it for the budget. And we have one or two more things tonight and exec, but we will say goodbye to those people at home we can invite you to stick around for the town board meeting, coming up in just a few minutes.
One quickie before we go
Yes.
into executive?
Well, we can keep going, you can lose the camera.
You want me to,
Or unless you wanna say it to the crowd.
No, it's a request.
Does anyone else have anything for the camera? No?
do you want me to stop recording?
What's that?
School.
Oh, we're gonna do that, but it doesn't be.
Okay.
Do you want it
Okay, yeah,
recorded?
go ahead.
You want it recorded?
Yes.
'Cause I'm
you wanna
disconnected
record it,
from
yes. Thank you. Go ahead.
I would like the board to reconsider cordoning off part of the parking lot behind Town Hall on Friday, May 2nd, in preparation for the 6:30 installation dinner at the firehouse. The fire company definitely will need extra parking. It doesn't have to be the whole lot, but if we could just ensure that maybe half the lot is not gonna be occupied, except for visiting dignitaries. We have a lot of people from the state and county county government. And it would be embarrassing if they had to scramble and look for parking, especially if it's pouring rain
It's supposed to rain.
all week. Happy.
Anthony?
The lot behind, next to the firehouse?
No, the lot behind Town
Behind
Hall.
Town Hall,
Lot 1.
just a portion of it.
It was, Hannaford.
Mr. Brown?
No.
You good?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we'll cordon off a portion of the lot for the event.
Okay, thank you.
Also, we have mentioned it briefly, we need to motion, going to need a motion, we're actually gonna be back and forth a little bit here just to get some business done. I need a motion to set aside $1,000 for NICOM, for those people that do wanna go, it's coming up next week. We haven't confirmed anything, but we need to make sure we have the funds available, in case one of the trustees or one of our people wanna go. So at this time, I would like a motion to approve up to $1,000 for the NICOM convention, coming up next week. Questions?
As someone who is not going, I'd like to move it.
Okay. Well, no one's confirmed, so I have a motion for the, set aside $1,000, do I have a second? Second by Mr. Brown, all those in favor? Opposed? Okay. Before we move into exec, did you want to make a presentation, Jack, or are we just here for questions?
I'm here for the following meeting.
Oh, okay.
But I would like to just say that if you could announce the times of the assemblies tomorrow in the library, let everybody know.
The IDA meeting is at 10 o'clock in the library tomorrow. I'll be there, anyone else who can be would appreciate it. I know Bob can't, Bob's at a school tonight, that's why he wasn't able to make it. But it's a very important meeting, so anyone who can attend, I would appreciate it.
There's also a follow-on informational
7.
meeting to repeat the morning meeting for those that couldn't attend at 7 o'clock in the library.
But that's just for information, that the
Yes.
IDA won't be there taking public comment. It will just be
No.
reporting out of the morning.
Right, and we want as many people, because there's a lot of people that can't be there at 10 o'clock.
So 10 o'clock for the actual IDA and 7 o'clock for the follow-up informational meeting.
It's a tough time for, I know a couple of us have to be across county for a CDBG grant meeting, so it's running in conflict with some important things.
Right, the
for us.
developer requested that they do it at night, and they don't do meetings at night because of the perception, you know, that it's an inconvenient time. So that's why we're doing the informational meeting.
Is there any other business before we go into executive session that anyone has? No? Any comments from the floor?
So you're going into executive and then you're coming back out of executive?
We have to come back out to close the meeting.
Okay.
I don't know if we'll be making any additional motions after executive. So it's for discussion. we'll see what happens in executive session. But before we go in executive session, is there any public comment? Anything that anyone would like to say? No? You sure?
Not tonight,
Okay.
next meeting.
Oh, yeah? Nice. Okay, with that, I need a motion to move into executive session.
So moved.
Second? All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you very much. Thank you, Kev.